court has ordered a stay of execution of the $9.6 billion damages secured against Nigeria by Process and Industrial Development, pending the determination of an appeal by the federal government. It, however, asked the government to make a security payment of $200 million to the court within 60 days. The court also granted Nigeria leave to file an appeal against the award, but the court upheld the award and refused to reverse the damages. The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, said the battle to quash the award has shifted to the UK Court of Appeal. He, however, hinted of the possibility of challenging the legality of the $200 million security deposit within the 60-day window. President Muhammadu Buhari says the war against corruption is one that his administration intends to win and has vowed to ensure that purveyors of corrupt practices as enemies of the people have no hiding place. This was while addressing a high-level meeting on the promotion of international cooperation towards combating illicit financial flows and strengthening good practices on asset recovery and return to foster sustainable development. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu reports from New York.
The 2014 Global Financial Integrity Report shows that Nigeria lost an estimated $157.5 billion to illicit financial flows between 2003 and 2012. Similarly, Tax Justice Network and the International Monetary Fund have estimated that developing countries lose over $200 billion per year due to non-payment of taxes by multinational enterprises to their host countries, an amount higher than the development aid they receive annually. This event, attended by some African leaders and development partners, was put together by the African Union Development Agency, New Partnership for Africa's Development, as well as the EFCC, to chart the best way forward.
The illegal movement of funds from Nigeria constitutes a severe and damaging drain on the Nigerian economy.
Our hope for the future is that these and other efforts to stem corruption will succeed and make a substantial difference in the lives of the people in our communities back in Africa.
Our nations and our world will be better served as we work together to fight illicit financial flows.
It is important for our governments to begin harmonizing the legal and institutional framework so that we can effectively deal with this scourge that robs us of resources to develop our countries.
And let me close once again, reaffirming the commitment of the General Assembly to bring justice and development through return of illicitly stolen assets.
For President Muhammadu Buhari, with such massive loss of assets, Africa has no choice but to break the back of corruption.
We need ideas.
We apologize for that break in transmission there. Now, the federal government's development strategy has been applauded by international development partners at the ongoing UNGA 2019. President Muhammadu Buhari, who received the report, says though much has been achieved, commitment from all partners will ensure remarkable achievement. Cecil Egbele is in New York and now reports.
As part of the side event of the ongoing United Nations General Assembly, President Muhammadu Buhari launched the Integrated SDG Model Report alongside the United Nations Development Programme Office and other strategic partners.
As a government, we have since recognized that to achieve the 2030 agenda and the SDGs, we must scientifically understand our implementation context, carefully formulate policies and programs, and judiciously apply human and financial resources. This cannot be achieved with ad hoc planning.
With the official launch of ISDG model report today, Nigeria is the first of the countries, first, if not in the global south, to have developed this document.
While efforts were praised, challenges raised, strategies to achieving greater heights were preferred.
Improved budget implementation for better delivery of public services is clearly highlighted in the process of leveraging this new model.
And Nigeria today, through this event, is actually telling us that we're on the right track.
In furtherance of this, we have already integrated the main areas of concerns of the SDGs in the implementation of the ERGP, and the next level effort is to mainstream the 17 SDGs in the medium and long-term plans.
The achievement of the SDGs requires that we totally transform the agricultural sector. You will not be surprised that I am saying that.
Now, we do have enormous challenges, but it's important to understand that we have the capacity to overcome these challenges. And that's because we have examples of nations that have done it.
President Buhari highlighted the social investment program of his administration as a major step towards addressing poverty challenge.
We have since established an ambitious national social investment program targeting the poor and vulnerable members of the Nigerian population.
The SDG reports put together by the Millennium Institute, the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on SDGs, the Ministry of Budget and National Planning, Ministry of Finance, and of course the UNDP country office in Nigeria says if all hands are put on deck and if the business as usual attitude is done away with and support from international organizations, the SDG 2030 in Nigeria can be achieved. In New York, Cecile Egbeli, NTA News.
Similarly, the Nigerian government wants the world to reinforce commitment towards achieving the 2030 agenda of the Sustainable Development Goals. This was part of submissions of President Buhari at the meeting of the world leaders underway at the United Nations headquarters in New York. In this report, Oluseyi Adeabo discovers the importance of the UN Summit on SDGs to the world and the state of SDGs in Nigeria.
Sarah Sunday has been into the selling of groundnuts since last year. She told me that her proceed is basically to fend for herself and take care of her academic needs.
So, Sarah, what do you know about the Sustainable Development Goals?
I've never heard anything about SDG.
Though Sarah has no idea of what SDG stands for, Adejo Job has a bit knowledge.
You know what you have, and it's out of what you have that God will give you the capacity to empower the youth for them to sustain their life.
It is for the likes of Sarah and Adejo, who are living below the average levels, that the SDGs mainly target. 17 goals of transforming the world it is, through mobilizing efforts to end all forms of poverty, fight inequalities, and tackle climate change, with focus at first reaching the needs of people at the grassroots. Adopted in September 2015 by world leaders at a United Nations summit and came into force on 1st January 2016, participating countries were required to domesticate plans based on their means and requirements. 4 years running, the reviews of its outcomes and sharing of experiences were part of the cross of discourse at the 74th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York, USA. The meeting, which is the fourth UN Summit on SDGs since 2015, is coming with a political declaration titled Gearing Up for a Decade of Action and Delivery for Sustainable Development in 2030. For Nigeria, the establishment of a National Social Investment Program, NSIP, has since been addressing the need of the poor and vulnerable members of the Nigerian population. And now is the commencement of Integrated Sustainable Development Goals, ISDGs model, recently launched by President Muhammadu Buhari in New York.
As a government, we have since recognized that to achieve the 2030 agenda and the SDGs, we must scientifically understand our implementation context, carefully formulate policies and programs, and judiciously apply human and financial resources. This cannot be achieved with ad hoc planning.
With Nigeria still ranked 43 among 52 African nations on SDGs implementation, Professor Isaac Obasi served as a lead consultant to Nigeria in 2015 on the Millennium Development Goals, MDGs and reports, and has since been following closely the development of SDGs in Nigeria in the last 4 years. He is hopeful that in 10 years, the agenda will be attained.
So we pray that office should be well resourced. The OSAP SDGs should be well resourced, and there should be effective and robust monitoring and evaluation of what it is doing. Since now we have mainstreamed SDGs in the annual budget, and they promise again that are going to mainstream it in the MTEF. So we hope that if all this are actually achieved, Nigeria will do well in SDG in the next 10 plus years.
For the groundnut seller, Sarah Sunday, who knows nothing about the SDGs, and Professor Isaac Obasi, an academic scholar who has in-depth knowledge of it, as well as the world leaders who are putting in the political will to achieving the 2030 agenda of the SDGs. Their expectations have connections, building a world where poverty and hunger will be a thing of the past. In Abuja, Olusheye Adiagbo, NTA News.
And still on diplomatic ties, Nigeria and Portugal have resolved to partner more effectively in the fight against corruption, piracy and other acts of criminality in the Gulf of Guinea and the Sahel region. This is when President Muhammadu Buhari granted audience to his Portuguese counterpart Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa on the margins of the United Nations General Assembly in New York. State House correspondent Adam Musambo reports that the president also hosted the former Prime Minister of Australia.
It was a warm and friendly atmosphere as President Muhammadu Buhari formally engaged his Portuguese counterpart Marcelo de Sousa, the first since coming to power. Their high-level discussions held behind closed doors focused on various issues of concern, including security, economy, democracy, rule of law, and the development of infrastructure. President Buhari, who gives reasons for his administration's heavy investment in infrastructure, thanked Portugal for the steadfast support it has given Nigeria on many fronts. The Sahel region, he laments, is awash with illegal small arms, exacerbating the security situation in the northeast of Nigeria. The president said the federal government is doing a lot to bring things under control, but solicited the support of Portugal in securing the Gulf of Guinea, saying most of the stolen crude from Nigeria and other countries pass through the region.
Mr. President talked about the measures that were being taken to provide to safeguard the security of the ships, and also he talked about piracy and other challenges, security challenges in the Gulf. They looked at the terrorist challenges and the steps that needed to be taken to address that issue. He talked about Portugal's support for Nigeria in those challenges. And then also, of course, the issue of irregular migration and the challenges that that's posing for Europe. The need for the European Union to be also supportive of Africa in addressing economic challenges. As you know, one of the Portuguese-speaking countries of Africa, Guinea-Bissau, is going through a very difficult period at the moment. The Portuguese president, recognizing that Nigeria has a lot of influence in the region, is very keen for Mr. President to support maintaining the government in power so that they can carry out the elections November 24th this year.
President de Sousa commended what he called the excellent relations between his country and Nigeria. Portugal, he explained, is hosting the Euro-African Forum next year and formally invited President Muhammadu Buhari to declare the event open in Lisbon, saying it will be a great honor to have the Nigerian leader in Portugal. As President de Sousa puts it, many African countries have come, but we want Nigeria. At another meeting with the former Australian Prime Minister Kevin Rudd, President Buhari said Nigeria had demonstrated political will on water and sanitation. Mr. Rudd is the global chairman of Water and Sanitation for All. The president said at Nigeria's stage of development, Clean water and sanitation are critical, hence the declaration of a state of emergency on water and sanitation in November last year, which will be relaunched this year to scale up efforts at discouraging open defecation. Describing the political commitment of Nigeria as reassuring, Mr. Kevin Root said his organization will support Nigeria deal with prevailing challenges towards meeting the 2025 target of ending open defecation. From New York, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
You're watching the news on NTA International. There'll be more reports after these messages.
Hey, you! And are you how they talk to? I sabi you now. It's in your mind, Abi. The person with them go hail us. Baba Toros and Shangalo. Oganekuva, Mr. Sabi. And you know if we carry last for this one.
A spear into the top corner.
We Sabi say Peking go crawl before in waka. So don't look, no help anybody. No dolly, no. So go for it. Go for football. Go for all Serie A and La Liga marching long. Go for Go TV Max.
Thanks for staying with NTA International. And still on sustainable development, President Muhammadu Buhari has applauded the contributions of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation as well as Aliko Dangote Foundation to humanitarian and developmental activities in Nigeria. In a statement signed by the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, the President, in a meeting with the duo on the sidelines of the 74th United Nations General Assembly in New York, said they have touched humanity in many positive ways in agriculture, in which Alhaji Dangote has made huge investments. The President noted that farmers are very happy in Nigeria now, as fertilizer has been made available and sold at half the price, among many other incentives. Mr. Gates also congratulated President Buhari for assembling a cabinet that excites the people, saying he's pleased that one of the priorities of the administration is human capital development, of which health, nutrition and education are key components. Meanwhile, the federal government, under the Next Level agenda, is poised to sustain robust engagements for the development of the power sector. This came to the fore during a stakeholders meeting at the Kainji Hydro plant in Niger State. Joshua Ojito reports that the Minister of Power represented Vice President Yemi Osinbajo at the meeting organized towards addressing funding gaps for efficient service delivery and economic development of the nation.
This is what most business owners like Aliyu say they pass through in search of adequate power supply to run their businesses in spite of the privatization of the sector.
If they buy fuel, something like that, I go reach something at 40,000 for this year in months.
The problem we are having with NEPA now is their bill is too much.
It is to address this and many other challenges that the power sector operators in generation and distribution companies meeting at one of Nigeria's flagship dam infrastructure say the theme Next Level for the Nigerian power sector, unlocking real liquidity, is appropriate. The Minister of Power says federal government has approved the third round of intervention funding for the sector with a total of 1.5 trillion naira in the last 2 years. The minister tasked participants to deliver affordable and adequate power supply to Nigerians.
We will do our utmost best to establish the appropriate policies to address the issues such as collection of receivable, which has grave implication for the generation and distribution companies, and the establishment of the cost reflection tariff for the sector.
As more power is made available to industries in particular, more jobs will be created, more Nigerians will be empowered. So the issue of tariff will not even arise at all, because people will be capable of paying the cost-reflective tariff.
While at Kayenji, the minister inaugurates generation recovery plants and also paid homage on the Emir of Borgu Kingdom, Alhaji Muhammad Haliru Dantaro. With the outcome of this meeting, Aliyu and many others are hopeful of improved power supply in the country. From New Busa in Niger State, Joshua Ojito, NTA News.
Similarly, Nigerian engineers are taking a bold step to help the country fully harness the abundant potential inherent in renewable energy to provide power to small-scale enterprises. Consequently, the Nigeria Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers Abuja chapter has trained engineers on design, installation and maintenance of small and medium-sized solar PV systems. Justin Bemuni reports.
John Gang, an electrical engineer with the Nigerian Television Authority, is one of the trainees that have benefited from a 5-day training workshop by the institute. Like the other trainees from the 6 geopolitical zones of the country, he has now been equipped to further improve power security in the country, also to deploy power solutions more easily to meet common demands and to help Nigeria move closer to finding solutions to problems as regards the power sector. Nigeria's population is put at more than 200 million, and the issue of power supply is a national concern. This population, as it is now, is sharing about 4,000 megawatts of electricity, which is evidently grossly inadequate. The Nigeria Institute of Electrical Electronic Engineers now is particular about the ability of common Nigerians to get the little power they need for MSMEs and domestic users, where the majority of the over 200 million population are found. And the digital revolution is in view, as renewable energy and energy efficiency are seen by these professionals as quick wins.
Since we have the Executive Order 05 now, the challenge to deliver is staring us in the face so as to help build the economy.
So definitely, NTA and NIEEE, we are in the same course and it's the same thing. We will work to the logical conclusion.
We apologize for that break in transmission in that report. Moving on now, President Muhammadu Buhari has congratulated national leader of the Yoruba Socio-Cultural and Political Organization, Afenifere, Pa Ayorinde Fasomi, as he turns 94 on Friday, September 27, 2019, commending him for consistently projecting the noble and progressive ideas of Chief Obafemi Awolowo. President Buhari extols Pa Fasomi's courage in standing for democratic governance and fighting for democratic ideals and values, praying that the Almighty God will grant him longer life, good health and strength to keep serving the nation. Similarly, President Muhammadu Buhari has joined family and friends in celebrating with renowned journalist and columnist Chief Duru Onabuli, who turns octogenarian on September 27, 2019, congratulating him for courage and steadfastness in serving the country. A statement by the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, says as he turns 80, the President congratulates Chief Onabuli for serving the country with his talent, treasures and time, especially in crucial times that deserved personal sacrifice. The Senate has considered and approved its legislative agenda for the next 4 years. The agenda encompasses vital areas the Senate will be focusing on, such as legislative intervention in agriculture, security, job creation and solid mineral. The Senate will also be giving priority to restructuring Nigeria's oil sector. The Senate has also received a request from President Muhammadu Buhari for the confirmation of Adeleke Adewolu as Executive Commissioner of the Nigerian Communications Commission. It has also mandated its Committee on Finance to immediately commence the consideration of the 2020-2022 Medium-Term Expenditure Framework and Fiscal Strategy Paper and report back to the Senate in 1 week. Similarly, the House of Representatives says the absence of a substantive executive secretary for the National Health Insurance Scheme is affecting the performance of the scheme in providing service to Nigerians. In adopting the motion, the House urged the NHIS to direct all health management organizations to pay outstanding debts owed healthcare providers, while calling for a holistic review of the scheme to encourage more participation by Nigerians. House members expressed worry over non-conduct of periodic quality assurance improvement services on healthcare providers and maintenance organizations. Thursday's plenary also passed for a second reading a bill for an act to repeal the Fire Service Act and establish the Fire and Rescue Service to expand the scope of the service. Details of these and more in our subsequent bulletin. And on to security matters now. The Air Task Force of Operation Lafiya Dole has destroyed a major Islamic State of West Africa province ISWAP logistics base and training camp at Kusuma on the fringes of Lake Chad in Borno State. In a statement by NAF Director, Public Relations and Information, Air Commodore Ibikunle Daramola, the airstrike was executed after credible intelligence reports established that a section of the settlement was serving as a training camp for the terrorists, while some buildings within the camp were being used to store logistics and other supplies. The pre-attack surveillance showed scores of fighters attempting to flee the location. They were, however, engaged by the attack aircraft, leading to the neutralization of many of them. The terrorist supply store, which was also hit, was seen engulfed in flames during the raid. And still on security, the Nigerian Army is to commence simultaneous routine training exercises in the various geopolitical zones. A statement by the Acting Director, Army Public Relations, Colonel Segir Musa, indicates that the exercises include IM Akpatuma 2 in the north central and parts of Benue, Nasarawa, Kogi, Taraba, Kaduna and Niger states. Exercise Igwe K4 is to hold in the southeastern part of the country, comprising Abia, Anambra, Ebonyi, Enugu and Imo states, while exercise Crocodile Smile 4 will span throughout the south and parts of southwestern states of Akwa Ibom, Bayelsa, Cross River, Delta, Edo, Lagos, Ogun and Rivers. Similarly, Operation Positive Identification, initiated in the northeast as part of the ongoing counter-insurgency operations, will be extended to other parts of the country to checkmate bandits, kidnappers, armed robbers and cattle rustlers. These exercises will run concurrently from the 7th of October to 24th of December 2019. And now we'll take the weather forecast. And the weather forecast concludes the news at 7 on NTA International. Thanks for watching. I'm Najat Atutijani.